Hello and welcome to Smaulgld's Canadian Mint Silver Sales Update for the third quarter of 2016. Quick note, today is February 27th, 2017, and you might be wondering, why am I finally getting around to reporting the third quarter, which ended September 30th, 2016, the silver sales from the Canadian Mint all the way in February 2017? Well, the reason is they just released them. And there's a reason why they just released them, and we're going to go through that later on in the podcast. This will be a quick one, so you don't have to wait very long to find out. But let's look at least first what those silver sales were in the third quarter. Canadian Mint silver sales fell 36% in the third quarter of 2016 from the results of the silver sales in the third quarter of 2015. Now, the Royal Canadian Mint still sold a hefty 6.1 million ounces of silver in the third quarter last year, but that was down 36% from the 9.5 million ounces that they sold in the third quarter of 2015. In 2016, for those of you who have a short memory, the first quarter of sales of silver at the U.S. Mint and at the Canadian Mint were on record pace, as were the second quarter through the first half of the year. So in the first quarter of 2016, the Canadian Mint sales were up 19% year over year. They sold 10 million ounces in the first quarter, 10.6 million, up from 8.9 million from the first quarter of 2015. The second quarter, they were up as well, and after the first half of the year, the Canadian Mint had sold almost 20 million ounces of silver, and that was ahead of the 2015 record year. So both the U.S. Mint and the Canadian Mint looked like they were on pace to have record years. The Canadian Mint was going to break its record, and the U.S. Mint was going to smash its 47 million ounce record. That didn't happen at the U.S. Mint. They've already closed the books, and they only sold about 10 million less than the record. They sold about 37.7 million ounces at the U.S. Mint versus the 47 million they sold the year before. Now, the third quarter Canadian Mint sales were okay, and they were late. And part of the reason was they had to restate their financial results. We're going to explain why. But let's just take a quick look at the numbers. There's some overview of what happened during the year. We'll look at the Canadian silver to gold sales ratio. Canadian Mint, same as the U.S. Mint's been selling more gold than silver proportionally lately. So in the first quarter, they were selling at the Canadian Mint almost 50 to 1, 1 ounce of silver to every ounce of gold. That dropped to second quarter to 33 to 1, which meant the first half of the year they were selling about 41 times more silver than gold. But in this third quarter of 2016, that dropped to 30 to 1. And look, here's the chart. So you can see through the third quarter, it doesn't look like, unless they sell 9-10 million in the fourth quarter, that they will break last year's record. Although this year, 2016, is a decent year. It'll probably be the second best year. The other two high years were 29 million. They're through the third quarter, they're at 25.1. So they should break 30 million easily this year if they have a moderate, okay fourth quarter. For those of you interested in buying the Canadian Silver Maple Leafs, you can buy them through the affiliates on the Smaulgld site. Smaulgld gets a small commission, to state that up front. If you do buy through Smaulgld, through the links below this YouTube video, and also on the Smaulgld website. And if you do, you pay no more, no less if you visit the sites via the Smaulgld site than you would if you visited those sites directly. So compare pricing and shipping at the affiliates that we feature: BGASC, Golden Eagle Coin, JM Bullion, Money Metals Exchange, and also you can get your Canadian Silver Maple Leafs through SD Bullion. Remember, Smaulgld gets a small commission. It's one way of funding the site. You can also help fund the site via making a PayPal donation or a Bitcoin donation, or becoming a Patreon and donating a monthly amount each month. Now, why did the Canadian Mint, why were they so late in producing these third quarter results. Well, they didn't sell as many, so it wasn't like they were busy counting all the silver they sold. And they weren't delayed because they had a relatively slow quarter and they were in mourning or anything like that. The answer is the Canadian Mint has been selling large amounts of these face value coins. They're quite an interesting concept. I don't know if you guys have seen them. I like the concept, but it could work out, but it also could not work out. So what the face value coins are, for example, the Canadian Mint started issuing all these kind of clever looking coins, nice looking coins with face values of $20, $50, $100, even $200. But let's just stick to the $20 coin because that's the ones they made the most of. Now these $20 coins are printed on them $20, so that's 20 Canadian dollars. And they sell them to you at $20. And you think, well, that's a great deal. You're getting $20 silver coin for $20. Except the $20 silver coin face value only has about a quarter of an ounce in it because it's the size of a quarter. And you say, well, that's okay because I'm only paying 20 bucks for it, but you're not getting $20 worth of silver. But what you are getting is $20 Canadian coin, which means basically the way I looked at it was if I'm going to take a US $20 bill or $23 worth, whatever the exchange rate was at the time, and get myself $20 worth of Canadian currency, I might as well take the $20 face value coin because at least it has some silver in it. It doesn't have $20 worth of silver in it. So it was, in one respect, it was a way of getting Canadian currency exposure and also having a little silver. The other thing was about these coins, they had some new numismatic value, one might think. They had these different designs on them. So they were a very interesting concept that you could kind of be protected against the loss of value in your coin because you can always bring them back to the Canadian Mint or a bank and get your $20 back. And if the silver price dropped, well, it doesn't matter. The coin's still worth $20, whether there's $5, $3, $2 worth of silver in the coin. Now, the price of silver would have to rise dramatically for there to be $20 worth of silver in the coin. That it'd have to rise to like, $80 an ounce for the coin to be worth $20 worth of silver, meaning that 1/4 ounce in there that's in there, if it's only worth $5, it would have to increase fourfold for it to actually be $20 worth of silver at today's prices. So you didn't really buy the coin for the silver, you bought it for the exposure to Canadian currency, and you bought it for the nice design, the potential numismatic value. How could you lose, right? Well, you really can't, but the mint can lose because people who bought them for the reason that I just explained realize, well, you know what? This coin isn't worth that much in numismatic value, and I don't have, $20 worth of silver in it, and the price of silver went down, so why am I holding on to $20 worth of Canadian currency, or any, whether you're Canadian or American or whatever you are? Why don't I just take that $20, get my $20 back, and go out and buy $20 worth of silver, because the price of silver is cheap. Why do I want $4 worth of silver and the $20 gets confusing in a $20 face value coin when I go out and buy silver? Well, that's what happened at the Canadian Mint. People were returning these coins in droves. So, what does that mean? Well, when they sold the coin for $20, it's a kind of a great deal for the Canadian Mint because basically they're marking up the coin from the $4 or $5 worth of silver that's in it to $20. So they're selling a $4, $5 coin and they're just stamping 20 bucks on it, and because they're part of the government, they can get $20 for it. Well, what goes around comes around. People said, okay, well, I got a $20 coin. Thank you very much. Now give me my $20 back in Canadian currency. And they have to honor that. The Canadian Mint had to honor that, so they started to receive all these coins back. However, they had already booked the $20 as revenue and profit. So if they sold one coin for $20 and they only had $4 or $5 worth of coin of silver in it, it's a nice looking profit, right? You got $15, $16 worth of profit in your $20 coin. Now, when they make a Canadian maple leaf, they stamp at $5, but that's irrelevant. what they're basically doing is selling you an ounce of silver. It just happens to say $5 on it, but an ounce of silver is, 16, 17, 18, $20. So those coins they didn't make much money on. They had to buy the ounce of silver. They sell the ounce of silver at a markup and they stamp $5 on it. Now, people return those coins to the mint too, but not that often. I mean, they were what the Canadian Mint had done was they had booked all of the revenue for the face value coins and assumed that they would be returned at the same rate as all the other coins. Well, as I just explained, you really don't have that much of an incentive to turn in a Canadian coin that you bought that's got silver, because you're not going to get your money back for it because the price of silver has gone down. I don't even know what they give you for it. I think they give you the $5 that it says on it. So there's no major amount of coins that get returned, at least in the bullion side, probably none. And on the other numismatic coins, they're not face value coins, so people may return some goofy looking coin that's shaped like a maple leaf. It's stamped $5 on it, and they charge you $120 for it because it's a special item. Yeah, people return those coins and people hold on to those coins, but there's no incentive to turn those coins in the way there was with these $20 face value, $50, $100, $200 face value, because if there's no silver in them and you've been holding them for a while, well, you've just managed to park your money with the Canadian Mint, and now you want your money back. Well, anyway, that's what happened. And so the Canadian Mint then issued in their latest third quarter release, they finally had to figure out an accounting for this. And they noted that face value products have different characteristics than their other numismatic products. What I said about the bullion, forget it. No, you don't return the Canadian maple leafs. They return the other coins, like the ones shaped like maple leafs and all the other colored coins that they have. And these products, these face value products, allow you to redeem them, and the mint allows it. And that's the attractive feature of why people would buy them. And that attractive feature turned out to be a nice feature, and people returned them. However, they noted that the historical redemption amongst these over the last year or so, when they started making these face value coins, is much higher than their other products. And they couldn't use the normal assumptions on the percentage of returns that they might have on these particular face value coins. So as a result, they realized, hey, we can't count every time we sell 100 of these 20 face value coins that we're actually going to make $2,000. We have to assume that a good number of these are going to come back, and the only revenue we really can book on these is the $4 or $5 in the coin, that's the silver in the coin. We can't count on that additional profit because they might return them. And so they noted that the price of silver and also the price of the dollar, US dollar versus the Canadian dollar, would impact how people, the percentage of people that might, or percentage of coins that might come back to them. And they also mentioned, and here's an interesting point, is that the mint had not made a determination, or they'd made a determination, at least for now, to continue to allow redemptions. Well, when I hear that, and I have one of these coins, I say to myself, well, I'm not going to wait around for them to decide, like in India, hey, guess what? These coins aren't worth anything anymore. Basically, they take a $20 coin and say, we're not going to redeem it anymore. Now you got a $4 coin or a $5 coin because you got a quarter ounce of silver. You don't have a $20 coin. You have a quarter ounce of silver. Now, this announcement probably is going to make more people redeem these coins. Now, on the flip side, if a lot of people redeem these coins, that may take a lot of them out of circulation, and they may become collector's items. Who knows? It's just the point that this is a mess, why the Canadian Mint had to restate its financial statements. And now what they have to do is they have to kind of track going forward. If they don't return as many coins, then that means they get to keep the profit. But if more coins get returned from prior year or so, or 2 years, however long they've been making these coins, then they're going to have to take the loss on those coins. So there you are. I still think if you can trust the mint and you can trust the Canadian government to stand by those coins, you're far better off owning a $20 face value coin with $4 worth of silver than a $20 Canadian note. That's for sure. But then the question becomes, are you just better off getting $20 worth of silver, i.e. buying an ounce of it somewhere else? There you have it. That's the story behind the Canadian Mint. Tomorrow we'll do the Canadian gold sales, which weren't that good either.